Hey folks, I'm Pete, and this is Pete's Eats Cooking Videos. Today we're going to make patychky, or meat on a stick. This is an Eastern European dish that people love. Now people think this is really complicated, but nothing can be further from the truth. It just takes a little time, and I'm going to show you how to make it step by step. So let's begin. Okay, so here's what you're going to need to make the patychky, or meat on a stick. You need the meat. The best meat for this is pork shoulder. Now I've got boneless, skinless, I bought it, so I just have to cut it up, and that's the easiest way to go, but you can buy bone and skin on and clean it up yourself. You'll need breadcrumbs, oil, eggs, and some spices that I'll show you later. You're also going to need the sticks. Now I have these little 4.5-inch birch skewers, which you can buy. If you want, you can buy the longer bamboo skewers at dollar stores and cut them up yourself. You're also going to need a little bit of white wine vinegar, and you're going to need garlic to marinate it. So the first step is to cut up your pork shoulder into chunks that we're going to marinate overnight and then skewer. I've got a lovely pork shoulder piece here. You'll notice this one has already been deboned and deskinned. And so what we need to do is cut it no more than 1-inch square kind of chunks. So those are probably about nice chunks. Just be aware that there is going to be a considerable amount of fat in it, and that's fine because that's going to render off during the very long baking process. So don't be afraid of the fat. If there's huge amounts, you can cut it and trim it away, but it really is no problem. What I did is I took all of the surface fat off the original piece of pork shoulder, and now I'm kind of pretty good with what I have left. So now we're going to add the marinade ingredients, and so you want to add an entire bulb of garlic chopped, and I just crush them and then chop them up roughly. So there's the garlic. Also water, we want to put in some water, so I'll add the liquid so it almost covers. That's enough for now. And then about a 1/4 cup of vinegar. So I'm going to put, you don't want too much vinegar, about a 1/4 cup, and also some white wine. I like putting white wine in. So about a cup of white wine, and also about a teaspoon of salt and about a teaspoon of pepper as well. And of course you can put more or less salt or pepper depending on your taste. So I'll just mix that up a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cover it and let that marinate overnight to make sure all the meat is covered. And tomorrow, when wake up, we'll be ready to start making the patychky, or meat on a stick. This has been marinating overnight, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get rid of the liquid, and we're going to skewer the chunks. So now that the meat has drained, I'm going to put the chunks on the skewers. You don't want to really pack them on tight. You want to put them on so they're fairly loose, and you want to try and leave a little bit of space at the bottom because they're going to be standing up in the pan. And this one is ready to go, and I'll just get them all done. And there you have it. They're all skewered up in no time. So I've seasoned the breadcrumbs with some paprika, some pepper, some herbamare. It's a really nice, lovely spice mixture. You can just use salt if you want. And that's really just about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the breadcrumbs on them now. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take the skewers and I'm going to drop them in. This is just beaten eggs. I've got about a half dozen beaten eggs here. And so now once it's coated with the egg mixture, I put it into the breadcrumb mixture. And I use 2 different hands for that. One for the egg and one for the breadcrumbs. And now that the breadcrumbs are on, you actually don't, it's not a bad idea to actually give them a squeeze kind of like that as well. And then put them in the pan, and let's on to the next one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fry these up in the oil. I have about a 1/2 to 3/4 inch of sunflower oil. I'm going to take the breaded skewers and put them in the oil. And what I want to do is I just want to quick fry them. I'm not trying to cook them through. I'm just going to give them a bit of a crispy coating, and then I'll put them into the strainer in behind, okay? So I'll let them fry up for a little bit, and then I'll turn them over, and once they're a bit crispy, I'll put them in the strainer back here. So as I take them out and put them into the strainer, what I like to do is I stand them up in the strainer as well, so we can drain off as much of that oil as possible. Oops. And of course that leaves room for another one. After you're done frying and draining, I put them into the pot. You'll notice the pot is on an angle, and the reason I do this is that's the only way to get them to stand up, otherwise it's maddening. And if you don't have enough to fill the pot, don't worry, you can just put a piece of crumpled foil or something to hold them in place. You don't want them falling over during the baking process. They're all snugly packed in. Again, if they weren't, I'd put a little spacer of some kind, maybe some foil crumpled up. The last step is I'm gonna put a little bit of water. I just want a little bit of moisture in there, so maybe, a 1/4 cup of water. So now we're gonna put tin foil over the pot, and we're gonna have a nice tight seal in the oven. We're gonna let it roast at about 325 degrees for about 2.5 hours to possibly 3 hours. It's going to be just like pulled pork, low and slow, and it's going to be fabulous. Okay, so they've been in for like 3 hours now, and I'm pretty sure they're done. Oh, they're beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Steaming hot and soft. That is absolutely perfect. They're going to be delicious. Here they are, steaming hot right out of the oven. Beautiful patychky, meat on a stick. They're absolutely delicious. They're really not hard. They just take a day because you got to marinate them first. So enjoy!